Yo, what's going on, guys? It's your boy Dives, Mr. Crockpot on Twitter. Holy shitballs. It has happened. The ball has dropped. Carson Wentz has just been traded to the Indianapolis Colts. Adam Schefter just breaking the news literally about 5 minutes ago. The Eagles have agreed to trade Carson Wentz to the Indianapolis Colts in exchange for a 2021 third-round pick, a conditional 2022 pick in the second round, which could become a first. Holy cow. Here we go, guys. Joining me today is my man, Justin. Follow him on Twitter at @J_Persichetti. You only have a few minutes. Justin, quick reaction. How would you grade this? How would you grade this trade?
Okay. So let's just breaking it down a little bit. Like, obviously, we wanted a first round if we could get it. I personally didn't think it was going to happen, so this doesn't surprise me. But I know the casual fan is not going to be happy that we're trading away a guy we drafted first round, first pick in the draft, and now we're giving him away for a third pick and most likely a second. So it's not exactly what you want for a guy like Wentz, but it makes sense to me.
What about you, Shane? Quick reaction. How would you grade this trade?
I think it depends entirely on what that condition is. I was in the camp that I never thought a first-round pick was on the table, particularly this year.
Agreed.
I don't think he's worth that based on his play over the last 2 years. So I was hoping for a second this and maybe something next year. So getting a third this year is not super exciting. I guess it really depends on what that conditional turns out to be.
Yeah.
I'm a little surprised. I do want to say real quick, I'm a little surprised that there's no player involved here.
Yep. Yeah. So
being that it's a third round pick.
Remember all these reports that the Eagles have this lucrative deal, multiple first-round picks on the table. We are all kind of then just really awaiting. This happened, a week or two ago, and nothing happened. Whether that was Howie Roseman just walking away from the phone with the Bears or the Colts, who knows what. But we are all panicking. We talked about this on Party on Broad. Has the value decreased for Carson Wentz? I think you look at this deal, I think it tells you how Carson Wentz is valued across the league. This is not a good deal. This is not a good deal for Carson Wentz. A conditional pick and a 2021 third-round pick. The Eagles got murdered in this deal. What, a D? Like, this is not a good deal. Like, when you look at how the Eagles put Carson Wentz in this trade, let's be honest, it was Howie Roseman leaking all of these news, and with all the beat reporters in Philadelphia, you know who you are. But a D is how I would grade this. What about you, Shane?
Mike Garofalo just put on Twitter that the conditional second rounder in 2022 becomes a first if Wentz plays 75% of the snaps, or if he plays 70% and the team makes the playoffs.
So Mike Garofalo.
Yeah. So I mean that's I'm sure that's legit. That seems like. I mean, Indy should make the playoffs unless Wentz is just terrible. Unless Wentz gets benched. I mean, we've had the injury-prone narratives early in his career, but he played a full 2019, exits the playoff game with a cheap shot, plays all of 2020 until he gets benched. So, I mean, he's not a guy that I would use the term injury-prone on at this point in his career. So I would say it's pretty likely that happens. So I think, as long as it becomes a first-round pick next year, I don't hate it. I don't think he was going to get you a first this year. I think the reports of, multiple first-round pick, that was a load of crap, and people just like to say stuff because it's Carson Wentz. That was never going to happen. I was on record saying if you could get a first-rounder this year, you should take it and run. So if you get a third-rounder this year and a first-rounder next year, I think that's fine value. I'll let Justin talk a little more. I've got more thoughts, but I know he's got a tight deadline to get out, so I'll save mine for a minute and let Justin go.
Thanks, but I'm pretty much on the same board as Shane. Like we knew this was coming, and we've known it for about a month now. It feels like that it's felt like this was going to happen, and then there were reports that it was going to happen. So it's not surprising at all. I did see reports as well that he had more interest going to the Colts than the Chicago Bears, and the Chicago Bears were really the only team that had a little bit less leverage, I think. That you could have maybe gotten a little bit more, maybe a second round this year instead of a third. But so it doesn't really surprise me that this happened. And I don't know, it's not like when James Harden was traded to the Nets where we're like, holy shit, like they just gave up this, and that for him. It's like we've seen this coming. It's not surprising, but I am a little underwhelmed with what we're getting back. I did think it was going to be, if it was this late of a pick, I thought we were going to get some sort of player compensation for it. Now I wasn't sure who that player was going to be, but it's tough. I don't know.
This is a bad deal, guys. This is a bad deal. You're essentially taking a massive cap hit for a 3rd round pick. This is not good, guys. Philly_Madness says Indy will be legit. Rob says too many leaks from the organization. And can we do a Colts fan show from now on? So we have Rob being the voice of the people going on to the Indianapolis Colts from the Philadelphia Eagles. That is hilarious. Go ahead, guys.
Yeah, real quick. This is funny. So I actually before I looked at the Discord and you said that you guys were going to do the live stream real fast, I called my dad and told him what happened. And for the past few weeks and months, he's been saying if Carson Wentz gets traded, I'm getting the jersey to wherever he goes. And he's like, especially if he goes to the Colts. And I was like, yeah. He's like, listen, dude. He's like, Howie, Doug, they effed up real bad. So he's like, I'm an Eagles fan, but I'm a Wentz fan too. So I was like, damn. So he's getting a Colts jersey.
Amadeo goes, Eagles are drafting a quarterback at number 6. We literally did a pod on that last week. Go check it out. We were seeing whether the Eagles taking Justin Fields, Zach Wilson could possibly be in the plans for the Eagles. Mike D says, I can't stand this Howie Roseman. I am done. Shane, are you ready to kind of give your
real
thoughts?
Quick, I'm gonna head out while you guys are going. So I'll see you guys. Have a good night. Go check out the Blue Coats game on Friday.
Love it. Thanks for joining, Justin. This is an emergency pod. This is what we do. We're going on the flow here, but my goodness. Here we go. So Carson Wentz is officially headed to the Colts. What does it mean for the organization moving forward? Howie Roseman continues to show he's a fraud, but I never, ever believed that 1st round nonsense to begin with. We talked about it on our Party on Broad podcast so many times that you're hearing all these news, multiple 1st round picks, and then kind of that the news kind of died a little bit for a week and nothing happened. And Shefty just reporting, so nothing major there. Here we are. Now Carson Wentz is now at Indianapolis Colt. Mike D says, draft a quarterback. Where does Hurts go? Hurts is essentially on a 1-year tryout with the Philadelphia Eagles. That's what's going to happen. I don't see the Eagles drafting a quarterback at number 6. I think you're going to give Jalen Hurts a full opportunity to show what he's got, a full offseason, working with the wide receivers, and the Eagles are going to try and build around him. What about you, Shane?
So I think there's two basic routes that the Eagles can take. One is that you build around Jalen Hurts, you see what you have in him, and if he's bad, you're probably picking, in the top. Well, you're definitely picking in the top half of the draft, maybe top 10. I don't think that this Eagles team is going to be good next year. I mean, we've allowed the Carson Wentz saga to sort of overshadow how bad of a spot this team's really in. And I think now that chip has fallen, people are going to start to think about what this team looks like next year.
Yep.
So you can build around Hurts, see what he looks like, and you're probably sitting back in the top 10 next year if he's bad. But you never know what a quarterback class is going to look like. This is a deep class. You've got 3 good quarterbacks sitting at the top of the draft. I am very adamantly against trading up to get a quarterback. You can't do that. But if one's there at 6, I think you could look that direction. I would certainly look that direction. I'm on the record of, my thoughts on Hurts. I've done some film breakdowns. I've dove into the stats. But I'm not going to be mad if the Eagles take a quarterback at 6. The only way I'm going to be mad is if they trade up to get a quarterback, or if there's a quarterback at 6 and they don't want him, but they don't trade back, is basically where I'm at. If you don't want to draft a quarterback, you want to build around Hurts, you still hope Fields or Wilson is there at 6 so you can trade back, in my opinion.
Awesome. So I just, when I see a third round pick, all I see is that was just complete nonsense. That first round reports that we kept hearing over and over and over again, absolute complete nonsense. Here we go. We got Brian joining, our CEO and editor. What's going on, Brian? Can you hear us?
Yo, what's happening?
What's going on, man? What's your initial reaction? How would you grade this trade?
Hold on, it's super choppy. Can you guys hear me all right?
Yeah, we can hear you, dude.
All right. I don't know how you guys have reacted yet. I just jumped in. I think it's a win-win-win, honestly.
Okay. Why so? Why's that?
So I by win-win-win, I mean, obviously most trades would just be like a win-win. I think it's a win for Carson. That's my third win there.
Yeah.
Carson gets to go back with Reich, obviously, as it's been talked about for a long time. Sorry, I'm also on my lunch break. I literally just left work and ran to go get some food, and all this went down, and so that's why I'm sitting in the car.
That's all good, man.
Oh, we lost him.
He's gone. All right.
So for me, I'm not sure why people ever thought that, multiple first round picks, anything like that was on the table.
I agree.
I kind of agree. I would echo what Brian's saying. I'm not based on that condition. I'm not disappointed. You're either going to have a situation where the Colts are good next year and it's a late first, or they stink because Wentz gets hurt or is awful and gets benched and they get an early second. So you're looking a third this year, a late first to early second next year. This is a situation where, Wentz wanted out and everybody knew it. And so there's only so much you can do. And I mean, we can talk about why Wentz wanted out. And let's do it. We got a few minutes. So, 2017, Wentz is having the MVP season. He tears his ACL. He watches his backup win the Super Bowl. He's a Super Bowl MVP. They build a statue of him outside. They keep the guy on the roster. 2018, the team looks bad. Wentz gets hurt, and Foles comes in again and leads them to the playoffs. Okay, 2019, he's injury-free. He finally shakes that injury label, injury-prone, and he goes to the playoff, drags this awful offense there, and then he gets a concussion on a dirty hit in the first quarter. And so in 2020, after he has drugged them to the playoffs with no skill players to speak of, the Eagles prioritize Javon Hargrave in free agency, and they spend a prime pick on a Heisman Trophy candidate quarterback to back him up. 2020 starts. It's bad, right? It leads to doubt. He starts to blame other people. He needs a change of scenery. Now, this isn't to say it's all Howie's fault, all anybody's fault. There is massive organizational failures at play here. Wentz deserves blame. Howie deserves blame. Doug deserves blame. Jeffrey Lurie deserves blame. They all bear fault. But at the end of the day, over the last 2 years, Wentz has not been a good quarterback. He wanted out. And so the Eagles, they have to capitulate to that. And so I think under the circumstances, getting a third-round pick this year, that conditional second, maybe a first next year, I think that's probably fine value given, the situation.
All right, Brian, can you hear us?
Yes, it's a little bit better. Hopefully, hopefully it's works a little better this time. I caught the end of what Shane was just saying there, and that's kind of my Eagles win argument. Basically, is what he just kind of outlined. I think obviously the macro look, the Eagles completely botched this whole situation with Carson Wentz and everything else, but kind of going into the micro, the where things were at this point in time, that's about as good a value as you're going to get. I've said from the beginning, if they can get a first round pick, that's a win. It looks like this conditional second has a good chance of becoming a first. So I think, and then adding that third on top of it, I think that's solid value at this point. I think the Colts kind of get some protection there. If Wentz really is just not good at this point, or he's, whatever it is, whether injuries or his head or whatever, if Reich can't get him fixed, then they kind of have some protection that it won't be a first. So I think it's a solid investment on their part. I think it's a solid return for the Eagles, and Carson gets to go where probably he wanted to go most of any place. So I think it's a win-win-win, honestly.
I disagree. My problem with this trade is you get a third-round pick in this year's draft. The Eagles need immediate relief in this draft. This draft is really set up there in that first, second, and third rounds. The Eagles could really fill some major holes at linebacker, at safety, at corner. It goes on and on about how strong this draft is, that they could really find plug-and-play pieces in this year's draft. Now the best asset is going to be something next year. I don't like that. That's you're essentially trading him a $30 million cap hit for a third-round pick this year. Next year is going to suck, guys. Next year is going to be a tough year for Eagles fans. Jalen Hurts, man, all aboard the Jalen Hurts train. Go ahead, Shane.
Let me push back on that just a little bit. Also, just fun trivia fact that the Eagles will have like $34 million in dead cap on this, which is the largest in NFL history. Previously, it would have been Brandon Cooks, but then it would have been Jared Goff, both Rams players, by the way, which you don't want to run yourself the way the Rams do. But let me push back on that a little bit. You just said, 2021 is going to be a bad year, and I agree with that. And so I think you get an opportunity to kind of use the Bill Belichick, picks next year are as good as picks this year. Teams undervalue picks in the future because, they're less important, but there will be a 2022. And so that first round pick is important, especially when you go into 2021 knowing it's going to suck anyways, knowing that this is the year you're eating $50-60 million of dead cap. You're setting yourself up for a window starting in 2022 to reload again.
Yep.
And so while I would prefer the pick this year, teams value their picks in the future less, and they shouldn't, especially in a year like this where, I'm really high on a lot of guys in this draft class, but at the end of the day, we have less information. We've got guys opting out of 2020 seasons because of COVID. We've got no combine. We've got shortened seasons. And so, loading up on picks this year, it is a risky strategy. And the Eagles aren't really in a position to take a lot of big risks. They need talent any way they can get it. And so, I don't view the pick being next year. I would take a first next year over a second this year for sure, regardless of where it's at. And so I don't hate that it's next year. I think it gives you an opportunity, whatever you decide to do at quarterback, it gives you an opportunity to try it out in 2021 and really build around a guy. And then in 2022, you're sitting there with an extra first round pick and a tremendous amount of cap space that's opened up that you can play around with.
Yeah, fine. But my whole stance is I want to jumpstart this rebuild as fast as possible. That's what this Carson Wentz trade was supposed to be. Top to bottom, the reason Carson Wentz is traded is because Howie has failed this team top to bottom. So the problem is that you're looking at 2023, 2024 probably now. Like I wanted capital now. I wanted the ball to start rolling on a rebuild now, so that way they can be set up for 2023. We've got our franchise quarterback on a rookie deal as soon as possible, and we're starting to build pieces around that guy. And that was my stance with that. And now that you're looking at a conditional pick next year, and we don't know, I don't know anything about that draft, to be honest. We'll see how that draft compares to this year's draft. My stance is that what the Eagles need is exactly in this draft. And we're talking linebacker. We're talking defensive backs. That's what I'm talking about. So anyway, let's wrap it up. What's your grade on this deal, man? And we'll shut down shop here.
I'm going to give it like a C+.
Okay. I'm going to stick to my D. What do you want to plug, dude?
Just the same old stuff. Follow me on Twitter. Follow us at the Painted Lines and our Twitch channel. We're kicking off some gaming stuff. I'll have a check down out later today. Kind kind of reacting to the Wentz trade a little bit more. And I don't know, maybe I'll try to write something up too. But yeah, just stay tuned to the Painted Lines.
Oh man, make sure you follow us on Twitter at the Painted Lines. Follow my man Shane at _TPL. Check us out on Twitch. Check us out on Facebook and Instagram. Make sure you smash that like. Make sure you subscribe. Turn on notifications for Shane, for myself. Thanks for watching, guys. Catch you next time.